Rolling na.
Sarado ko lang. Sige, sir, were you informed about the book? Or what's your idea about this book?
I heard that there was a first book launched already about the heroes, accountants, heroes, and it's about professionals in our field who are doing exceptional work. Yeah, and
Sige, I'm here naman to explain further
sige.
About the book po. Do you have any questions po ba? If just to clarify lang na you have an initial idea for this.
Feed me in. Sige.
Sige, I'll feed you in na lang.
Sige.
So, yun. So the book po is ayun nga. So we are featuring accountants who have or who are they are really advocates of paying the right taxes. So yung sa first book po namin, we featured 25 accountants, and that was launched last year. And this year po we will be featuring only 12 accountants. 12 accountants na lang po. So yung sa 12 accountants na po yan, medyo sobrang pili na po siya. Kaya medyo binawasan po namin. Anyway, ayun. Have we sent you the list of questions po, sir?
I got an idea about all those things,
Sige.
and yung ibang questions doon, sabi ko, I was searching for my mind. Wow. In my many years in the business, I feel guilty. I'm just like, well, even Superman, he's got his kryptonite, and I've got my share of that also.
Sige po, let's start na po with the interview.
Okay.
Yung interview po namin, we will be, may video po. Is it okay na yung gagamitan nating video will be posted on social media?
Yes, basta wag lang sa scandal, di mga more. Okay lang. I'm a funny man. There are some occasions that I've learned humor.
Sige po. So sir, can you please share a little background on how you started your career as an accountant?
I took accountancy many years ago at PUP. It was not really my first choice, but my parents told me that if you look at the newspaper, I graduated high school in 1979, and if you look at the newspaper, there will never be a day where you will not find a job opening for an accounting clerk. And so my mother told me that if you take accountancy, there's a great assurance that you will find a job. My first love was to become a teacher. But my mother told me, we're poor, and if you become a teacher, nothing will change in our life. So she encouraged me to take accountancy. And at that time, I understand that PUP is the only school where I can afford to really get that kind of education. And that's how I started. I never had any second choice. I took the entrance exam at PUP, and I'm happy that I passed because I don't have any other choice except PUP. I got in there and I was able to finish my bachelor in accountancy, partly because of my sister who was working at that time, and towards the second semester, second year, I applied for scholarship program. And
was there anyone from the family who is in the same profession?
No, I'm the first. No
so,
one.
Can I ask, is there someone na nag-influence sa inyo na to take the course?
When I was in high school, there was an elective which is accounting, bookkeeping and accounting. I took that elective, and perhaps I immediately got the idea of how accounting works because of the accounting equation. When the professor, actually the teacher initially wrote on the board assets is equal to liabilities plus capital, it stuck into my brain immediately. Oh, accounting is so simple. If you memorize the accounting formula, that you'll be able to get through. And because of that, I find all the succeeding lessons easy. I don't know if it's luck or simply I was paying attention to the teacher. But then even when I went to college, the first thing I did was, I know that finishing accountancy is something that you will have to take the board. The first thing I did when I entered the university, even before my very first class, I went to the library and I opened the book CPA review questions. I didn't know that this is what COVID was teaching us, to start with the end in mind. And then I started looking at the questions. 4 years from now, if I finish accountancy, these are the questions that I need to answer for the CPA board exam. It was all self-initiative, but I was very fortunate to have very good teachers in college.
Were there particular people who you consider na parang, like, do you have a support group at that time? And do you also have mentors?
I have none. In fact, during the time when I was already preparing for the CPO board exam, I came from a very poor family. There was a time where I don't even have fare to come back home to my house in Marikina. I would sleep in the school, and I would tell my classmates, let's form a support group. Bring food. I will be the head of our review class. And in the evening, we spend the night in school. And instead of relying on support group, I created my own support group.
So I want to go back to your childhood. Po.
Yeah.
Can you please share us parang stories na you consider na parang, because I want to make the story very inspiring.
Yes.
So can you please share some stories about your childhood?
I grew up from a very poor family, really. My mother is a dressmaker. She would always tell the neighborhood and the school every time she would enroll us in the public school. She would tell us that she is our yaya, that she is not my nanay. Why? Because she's ugly. During the war, World War II, her face was damaged because of the bombing and shelling. And from that day on, even before she met my father, she had this notion that she is an ugly woman. So every time that she would bring us to the public hospital or what, when they ask who is the mother of this child, she would always say that she is just a yaya or katulong. Okay? And I grew up that way. When I was in high school, I was elected president of the class, the whole class. And I need to bring my parent because I am the president of the class. And I know that my mother would never ever come in front to speak because she has this notion that people would just simply laugh at her face. In fact, she had a lot of quarrel in the marketplace because people are staring at her face. But at that very moment, when I started to speak, and I told myself that, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce my mother. This is Aling Choling. The Aling Choling that they knew as our katulong, suddenly everybody realized, oh, nanay mo yan? And I saw the spark on her face. It erased a bit of that fear, of that negativity about herself. That this is my son, and if he has the courage to introduce me to the world, then I should be supporting him. From that day on, I think, although it's a very big scar on her mind and on her heart, but I felt that there was a little bit of opening. Slowly, she started to open up and say to the world, yes, ano ko yan, etc., etc. And when I passed the CPA board exam, we had very little money at that time. I wanted to bring her to the oath taking, but I can only afford one. And she told me that your father, who has never seen you go up the stage or what, perhaps it's about time that he would be with you for the oath taking. So that's particularly, that's how I grew up and the kind of family that I have. And they're very supportive of everything that I wanted to do. They never stopped me if I joined organizations, if I joined extracurricular activities, they never stopped me. And they always believed in me that, in fact, there was a time when, this is a very nice story to share. When I was about to graduate, because we had very little money at that time, my sister gave me money for the toga and the graduation picture. But I realized that even if I march together with all my classmates wearing the toga and pay the money for the graduation fee, what's next? So I used the money for the graduation to pay for the CPA review class. So if you will look at my yearbook, you will never see an Orly Tugup picture on it.